What's shaking, my friends? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Shay, and today we are going to attempt to do a weekly wrap-up and continue the series going forward. I know I've started to do some weekly wrap-ups and then kind of they've fallen to the wayside. Hopefully we can continue these this month. I have a lot to say. It's easier for me to do weekly wrap-ups than monthly wrap-ups because at this point I'm reading so many books that to continue to remember everything about a book for a monthly wrap-up is insane. So we're gonna start out with just the weekly wrap-up. It's August 9th, so I'm gonna start by everything I read since August the 1st. Now, my reading habits have changed significantly since probably I was doing videos regularly, and that's because I'm majority of the time reading romance at the current moment, and I have been for a couple of months. And there are a few reasons behind that. If you've watched my content before, I would sprinkle romance in, but it wasn't something that I was reading super consistently. I'm primarily a fantasy reader. However, I have found in my mental health space in the past few months that it is easier for me to read romance than to read very heavy epic fantasy. And also, I am physically reading all of these romance books. I'm primarily an audiobook reader. I haven't read physically in a long time, but I am finding my love for physical reading again by reading these romance books. And also, I am enjoying my time because I'm also able to listen to music while I read the romance books, because I don't have to sit here and focus a lot on the world building and the fantasy aspects in order to listen to music while I'm reading. I love music and a lot of the time I put music on the back burner because I feel guilty and I should be listening to an audiobook, or that's what my mind tells me. And I've just kind of gotten out of that aspect where I want to listen to some music again. I want to fall in love with music again, and I'm enjoying my time because I'm doing that. But with that being said, I haven't stopped reading fantasy. It's just I'm reading a lot of romance, but we'll get into that. For the fantasy watchers out there, if you watch my channel for fantasy, we will start out with talking about the fantasy book I read this week, and it's actually a pretty chunky book that I read. This was my audiobook this week, and that is going to be A Song of Legends Lost by M.H. Allende, and I'm sorry if I pronounced her name wrong. Unfortunately, even though this is a very gorgeous illuminated edition, I did not get along with this book as much as I had hoped. I won't go through the synopses, but I can go with my problems. This book has a lot of characters. I want to preface this by showing you. And I was intimidated going in because at the beginning it has all these terms. So clans, I don't know if y'all can see, this is the first page, second page, third page, fourth page, fifth page, sixth page, seventh page, and part of another page. So you can see there's a lot of characters in here and a lot of things to know, and I was intimidated at first, but I was like, I'm just gonna pull through. I'm gonna start the book. We're gonna see how it goes. There are a lot of POVs in this book, and you have to basically know every single individual stories because none of them are starting off the story together or know each other or anything of the sort. So we are getting completely separate POVs with different backgrounds, different stories, different magic going on, different things happening, and it was just too much to understand and to remember what was going on every single second. Eventually they do all cross at the end of the book, but I did not, my brain was just overwhelmed with this. The magic system I found was pretty cool. There are people that can call upon their ancestors, and their ancestors will come and give them some magical powers and battles and so forth. Of course, there is going to be bad ancestors, bad magic, things that are out to get the people, kill the people. Lots of violence in this book. But again, I think the overwhelming amount of characters and overwhelming amount of knowledge that I was expected to learn in this book was just a little bit too much. So we got to the end of the book, and then there was epilogues, and there were a few chapters of new character epilogues, and when we got to the end of the book, I was actually like, I may continue on. And then we started these epilogues, which I think we got 3 of them from 3 new characters. And it's sealed by deal that, no, here we are introducing more characters that we're going to have to remember for the second book, as well as all these other characters that we know. And anyway, the writing was not bad. The storytelling was not bad. It's just was too many characters, too much story. So there's that. But I did read it. I did finish it. It was on my July TBR and I didn't get to it. But I've gotten to it now, even though I haven't gotten to a single book on my August TBR that I put out a little while ago. It's okay. It's fine. Let's get into the romances I read this week. And basically, I'm not going to say too much about it, but I will give you what tropes and whether I recommend this particular book or not. So the first book I read in August was Spotlight by Rebecca Genshak, which is Holland Brothers number 4 in that series. I have really loved this. Each brother is a professional athlete in some form or fashion, and I have super enjoyed all 4 of them. One of them in the series got 5 stars. This one got 4 stars. This is a single mom romance. Baseball. And he's a baseball player. So it was fun. It was a good time. I feel like Rebecca Genshak does really great character work, and she does give us these great character moments. And also, I like the way that she just makes pure, wholesome couple goals. Like, no real third act breakups, no none of that. We just see them, you know, falling in love and being happy. And what more could you ask for? Then I moved on to The Bombshell Effect, which is a part of a series by Carla Sorensen. It's the Washington Wolves series. Our male main character is the quarterback of a football team, and our female main character her father dies, and she inherits his business, which happens to be the owner of this football league. So they're actually neighbors. She moves in, and they're neighbors, and she doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know who she is, and he's an asshole at first. So enemies to lovers, and then she's his boss. So that is how it goes. I gave this 3 stars. I didn't really gel with these characters, and I didn't get the chemistry. So I only gave it 3 stars. The next book I picked up was Weekside by S.J. Silvis, and then I proceeded to binge S.J. Silvis. Weekside is a hockey romance. We start off with our female main character who has to room in the dorm with this very hot man on campus hockey player because something went wrong with the application and they put her in the male dorms. So they have nowhere to put her, and so she's in there with him. It is also a fake dating trope, and it also has some trigger warnings in there. So if you need to look up trigger warnings, I would. I personally gave this one 3 stars because some of the things and some of the decisions that were made by these characters and some of the drama that was incorporated into this just didn't jive with me. I did really like the characters as a whole, but just some things just really irked me. I gave this one 3 stars. The second book in the series, however, is Ice Bet, and I gave this one 5 stars. This is a coach's daughter romance. This also has trigger warnings. So again, if you need to know what those are, you should look them up before reading the book. The coach's daughter transfers to this college and gets an apartment right across the hall from some of the hockey players. The coach asks one of the hockey players to keep an eye on her. He trusts him to do so, and of course it's going to go from there. So coach's daughter, that's a popular trope. I would recommend this. I felt the chemistry in this. I felt the angst was good. I felt the tension was good, and I loved these characters. Then I moved on to number 3, and that's going to be Puck Block, and I also gave this one 5 stars. This is a brother's best friend romance, and I normally don't like brothers. I like brother's best friend sometimes, but I don't really care for it sometimes because it's like friends to lovers, because we don't really get to see the buildup of that friendship that leads to the lover part. They're already friends when, you know, at the start of the book, right? In most cases. So it does kind of give me pause sometimes to read these, but I have been liking them, like, as of late. So this one is brother's best friend. She is really sick of her brother and his best friend basically being overprotective of her all throughout middle school, high school, just kind of ruining her dating life, just being super protective, not wanting anybody around her, anybody to touch her. And so she's in college now, and she makes a deal with the best friend, our male main character, that just please let her date, find a guy, and don't interfere. Please, she's asking, she's begging, please don't do that. And I can't give you more information about that because I feel like it'd be spoilers, but there is great diabetic representation in this one, so highly recommend. But this one gave me 5 stars because these two characters, I felt the love, I felt it. So good angst, good tension. So then I moved on to the companion series to this, kind of, which is kind of fast forward into the future. There's college. They're in college, of course, in the books I just mentioned, and now we're out of college and we're in the prose, and we are following in the first book the brother to the female main character of the last book. So that is going to be Play the Game by S.J. Silvis, and I gave this one 3 stars. This is a marriage of convenience. This is marriage of convenience is very hard for me to get down with, because the reason that they have to get married for convenience is always a deal breaker for me, because I don't buy it, I don't believe it, and this one particularly, I don't believe it. And I didn't jive with a lot of the decisions that these characters made, so I gave it 3 stars. But I did continue on with the series because then I read the second book in the series, which was Skate the Line. And this is a single dad nanny romance. And normally I don't read a lot of these. I just don't find that it's the trope for me. I gave this one 4 stars, so I really liked these two. There are some trigger warnings in this one as well, so you may need to look those up. But I really did like these. This is kind of a grumpy sunshine romance as well. That's a trope. But would recommend that one. Gave it 4 stars. Then I just finished Rush the Edge, which is the 3rd book in the series. This is another brother's best friend trope. It also, this is our male main character has loved her for a long time. He is a bad boy in present day, but he's also loved her in the past. They had some intimacy in the past, basically right before he left for junior hockey, and he was really hoping that they would come together and that would make them be romantic, but she basically tells him, no, I was just using you for the intimacy, and it really breaks his heart, and he goes off for hockey, and then they lose touch and don't talk to each other again for 6 years until they come back together, because she moves to Chicago because she has been diagnosed with lupus and she's having a really tough time getting her lupus under control, and her brother is a doctor in Chicago, and one of the best rheumatologists in the country happens to live in Chicago, and so she goes up there for the doctor and for her lupus, and finds out that the best friend of the brother, the male main character, plays hockey for Chicago as well, and they're going to live in the same building. So at first it's enemies, then it's going to be lovers. Okay, so brother's best friend, and then enemies to lovers. I really liked this book. I really like this trope. He's also a grump and a bad boy, and I got down with it. I gave it 4 stars. So what am I reading next? On audio, I have started to read The Favorites by Lane Fargo. I'm like 20% in, and this book has always intrigued me because people have talked about how much they love it, but then when you go, I never understood what it was about. Like, it was always vague about what was going on with the book. So basically it's like they're telling the story, and you'll get news snippets, you'll get all these kind of things of them telling the story of these 2 figure skaters, how they came to partner up, pair up, know each other, and obviously you know that they become one of the greatest figure skating couples ever, but you know there's been some kind of scandal or some kind of falling out, which hopefully we'll get to at some point towards the end of the book. I'm only 20% in, getting their kind of backstory and the story of how they came to be this great figure skating couple. I'm enjoying myself so far. I haven't had anything negative really that I could say. I'm having a great time with it. As far as romance goes, I've just started Tutoring the Player by Rebecca Genchak. And this is a bad boy, good girl tutoring kind of thing. We're in college again. I don't know much else about it. I'll have to tell you my thoughts on it on the next week when I check back in again. I've been reading a lot, and you may notice that's a lot of books that I just talked about. I've probably read a book a day. A lot of these books are very short, which is why I'm able to blast through them. And for some odd reason, when I'm in my head, I have my headphones on, I'm listening to this music, and I'm just blasting through these books. Like, it's cathartic to me. I don't know. It just does something to my mental health, and I'm going to continue to do this until I maybe get back into fantasy again. My problem has been also that I haven't been reading the best fantasy. Every time I pick up a fantasy book, a lot of them have been mediocre. And I also need to get more into DNFing. I think that would help me a lot. I was thinking about continuing on with series and finishing series because that's always a goal of mine. And when I look at the series, I actively don't want to read a lot of them. And so I think I'm going to go through and cull my series and just say I'm done with this instead of trying to continue on with a series that I'm not interested in. So that's kind of my mental health and my mental state of reading right now at the present. I'm going to do what continues to bring me joy. And I know that a lot of you probably watch this channel for fantasy and not romance. Trust me, I know. I've never been a romance reader in my life. I'm just kind of going with the flow here and doing what makes me happy at the present moment. But I also have a lot of books that are fantasy and a lot of books that are coming in as fantasy. And I still love some fantasy. I'll tell you, I've read some of the best fantasy ever this year. I want to finish the Lycanius trilogy, this last book in the series. Books 1 and 2, like my favorite fantasy series. But I just haven't gotten the motivation to finish. And I think that hopefully I can get that motivation sometime soon. Because I do love fantasy. That's my first book love, and I want to get back to it. But that is all I have to say for this week. What are you guys reading? What are you going to read? Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you guys in the next one.